And so that's why I'd be a great fit for the role.
Yes, based on your experience and skill set, you'd be a welcome addition to our team here. Just one more question. I noticed your last job was 6 months ago. Why did you leave without securing another role?
Oh, that's due to the company shift toward a more lean business model. I was laid off as a result of the business transformation exercise, along with many of my peers.
Oh, okay.
Is there an issue?
Well, yeah, now I'm not sure you're the right fit for the job.
Wait, you just said a moment ago that I'd be a welcome addition to the team.
Yeah, but that was before I knew you were laid off. I just think it signals that there's something not right with you, and that's why your company laid you off.
What?
Thanks for coming for the interview. Doors over there. See yourself out. If you know of anyone who thinks that way, or worse, if you think that way, then in this video, I'm going to share why, in this day and age, there's less and less stigma associated with being retrenched and why you shouldn't feel bad or even embarrassed about being let go. Losing a job involuntarily is already a very stressful experience, and to compound the issue, often the fear of being judged weighs heavily on our minds. While it's only natural to feel that being retrenched reflects poorly on you, the reality could not be more different. Retrenchments often happen for reasons that you have little or even no control over. Like I mentioned in this video here, retrenchments are often about reducing costs. Your ex-company could have undergone a period of poor sales, which more than likely has nothing to do with you, even if you are in the sales department. Unless, of course, you're literally the only salesperson at the company, which seems improbable. Or the company could be forced to pivot to a more streamlined business model in response to market conditions, technological upheavals, or a volatile economy, or a combination of all three, and therefore have to undergo an organization-wide transformation or restructuring. It's entirely a business decision that reflects on the company and not you. And if you're let go as a result of that, it's not because you were a bad performer. It's not your fault. One way to think about it is, if your company decides to reduce its marketing team from 50 people to 10 people and you're part of the 40 let go, it doesn't mean that 40 of you are lousy at your jobs. It just means that going forward, they don't need as many marketers. Retrenchments are a normal part of the corporate world. Globally, millions of people at some point in their careers have or have had to face the prospect of retrenchment. So take some comfort from knowing that you're not the only one who has to suffer the indignity of being told that your services are no longer needed. When it comes to retrenchment, even star performers or high-performing employees have been let go. You only have to ask around or look on LinkedIn. Some of the most impressive people with some of the most accomplished CVs have been affected by retrenchment. So it's got almost nothing to do with performance. It's not because you're unworthy. It's not because you're undeserving. There's nothing to feel bad about or to blame yourself. If anything, you should be angry at your ex-company. Like I mentioned in my earlier video, retrenchments can sometimes be a consequence of bad decisions and poor management by the higher-ups at your company, which doesn't have anything to do with you. Again, unless you're one of the aforementioned higher-ups, of course. While it's true that in the distant past, getting retrenched might have been a piece of news you'd want to keep on the down low, these days, retrenchments are slowly but surely losing their stigma. More and more people are having frank, open discussions about layoffs. You only have to look around on LinkedIn to see that. People are sharing stories of their friends or colleagues getting laid off and even helping to advertise or advocate for them to be considered for available roles out there. Some people are even openly talking about their own personal layoff story, and they're being celebrated for it. So the fact is, an increasing number of people are starting to understand that retrenchments are a reality in the ever-evolving world of business. And with that understanding comes acceptance. Acceptance that being retrenched is not a sign that you're a poor performer or that there's something wrong with you. It's simply down to circumstances that are not within your control. While it's true that there might still be a small group of people who would judge you poorly for being retrenched, they are in the minority, and their way of thinking makes them, as a Gen Zer might say, a dinosaur. And as we know, dinosaurs are already extinct. As much as we hope that this sort of dinosaur thinking will, well, go the way of the dinosaur, sometimes we are stuck in a situation where we are forced to deal with stigma. For example, certain employers stuck in an old school mentality might perceive you as being less desirable to hire because you were retrenched. So, how to overcome that? It's all about reframing your mindset. Sure, some people out there might think less of you. You can't change their minds. But ever heard that saying, what other people think of me is none of my business? What you need to realize is what these less enlightened people think of you is their problem, not yours. It's a reflection of who they are. So instead of worrying about how you might be perceived by a minority of small-minded people, instead, why not focus on what's within your control? Being proactive with your job search, taking charge of developing and honing your skills, and perhaps most important of all, keeping a positive and upbeat attitude. Something possibly worse than dealing with stigma is entering a crisis of self-doubt. Getting retrenched is always going to be difficult, emotionally and mentally speaking. Your self-confidence could plummet and you could start to spiral into negativity about your own abilities. It's important to deal with any self-doubt before embarking on the job search. Otherwise, it could come across in your job interviews. First, acknowledge how you feel about the situation. It's normal to feel disappointed or upset with the outcome. We're all only human after all, but don't dwell on it. Take a quick break or vacation somewhere if it helps to reset your brain. Second, recalibrate the way you think about this. Remember that it's not your fault. Being let go often has very little to do with you or your performance or the value you bring. Instead, it's often a consequence of a company's poor decisions and mismanagement that necessitates an unfortunate cost-cutting exercise at the expense of employees who've helped to build the company. Finally, list down everything you've accomplished in your career. All those big projects you've delivered, the valuable skills and experience you've gained, the network of people you've built, and so on. And be proud of it. Those are your achievements. No one, and certainly no company, can ever take them away from you. Keep this in mind. Your job does not define you. Retrenchment, while unfortunate, is merely a bump in the road, but it's a long road and a long journey. So don't let retrenchment keep you down. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. If anything, let the fire burn in you to prove that it was a mistake to let you go in the first place and show them what they're missing. Alright, that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful. If you have tips of your own on how to deal with any perceived stigma from being retrenched, feel free to share them in the comments section below. See you in the next one.